Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Trade Show. And it's great to be back in the house tonight. We're going to go over a few deals, discuss some off-season market moves, and how we can value players as we head into the Senior Bowl. Well, we finish up the playoffs, head into the Senior Bowl, then the Super Bowl, then the Combine, then the rest of the off-season unravels, as we get all the way up to the hyped anticipation of the 2025 NFL draft. So let's get right into it. We've got a trade here. Let's start with which one? Yes, this one here. All right, so we got a feisty one here between Brady Flash and Foss Boss. This is from my Turtle League, which is a 12 by 10 tight end premium. It's a half-point tight end premium Superflex league, and this one had a pair of New York Jets getting swapped, and then we had the 104 going over with Breece Hall to Foss Boss. And in return, Brady Flash received Garrett Wilson, the 111, the 308, and a 26 second. So when I first saw this deal go through, it's tough to pick a side, honestly. I mean, yeah, you can argue the wide receiver side with Garrett Wilson. You might get some more longevity, but I mean, let's be realistic here. Look at the running backs today or this past year, how old some of these dudes are that are still performing. And I mean, to be completely real with you, I see Breece Hall in a pretty similar caliber to the dudes like Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs. You know what I mean? Like they're not Hall of Fame caliber. They're not, Derrick Henry, maybe CMC elite, but Breece Hall is definitely in the mix with those other dudes. I mean, Breece Hall still put up how many yards this past year in that shit show going on in New York? So, I mean, I've got no problem with Breece Hall's longevity. So let's just square this one down with, you can cross off Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson pretty much. Then you've got the 104 going for the 111, 308, and 26 second. Now, if you throw this on Keep Trade Cut, which I haven't done, throw it on some other trade calculator, I'm sure it'll probably come out to pretty close, but I'm leaning the 104 here and Breece Hall. I don't think that, if you take the 111 and want to get up to the 104, right? I'm thinking you got to have at least, I don't know, the 107 or 108. And I don't think you're getting to the 107 or 108 with a 26 second and the 308. All right. So the whole point being is the 104 is a completely different tier than the 111, right? Regardless of how you want to rank these rookie running backs and the other positions, like I could realistically see you saying that Tet and Genty are the top tier, right? But then where are you putting the next two quarterbacks, which are looking like Cam Ward and Shadir Sanders right now, and the next two running backs in Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton, right? So those are like the top six guys we've got. Now, if you want to put the quarterbacks out, even if it is super flex, I don't love the quarterbacks this year, but even if you want to put the quarterbacks out, I still think that you got Tet and Genty up top, and then Caleb and Omarion Hampton, and you could consider them in a tier all to themselves too. We don't know how things are going to shake out. We're still a few months away from the draft, and we got to see the combine, blah, 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 and all the hype. But for right now, the 104 is definitely in a tier above, maybe 2 tiers above the 111. So I'm leaning Foss-Boss's side here. I love the consolidation. This isn't a best ball league. This is a lineup league. Start 10, so it's not shallow, but not large either. So you don't need, like, what are you getting with the 26 second, right? I mean, yeah, it could end up being early, and then you're looking at it okay pick. But the 308, I mean, is a complete dart throw. Even in a nice deep running back class, the 308's no kind of guarantee. And neither is the 104, but the 104's got an immensely better hit rate. So this is where you can get yourself into trouble trying to break up assets. Now, if you're truly out on Breece Hall and you're in that camp, I can understand wanting to go over towards Garrett Wilson. The problem with Garrett Wilson is, who's his quarterback this year? And whoever that quarterback is, does that matter as much to Breece Hall? Okay. We all thought Breece Hall was going to be a monster this last year. Now, in spite of his low touchdown total, he still had a pretty damn good season. He just wasn't what all of us had hoped he would be, but that doesn't mean that he sucks. Okay. So, but you know, and honestly, the same thing can be said about Garrett Wilson. So they're both in the same boat. They're both, maybe it's like 50-50, maybe not going to have Rodgers, maybe not going to have Devontae Adams there next year. So I thought it was a real interesting trade. I don't think that Brady Flash got smoked in this deal, but I'm just thinking there's a better way he could have used his 104. Like, if he wanted Garrett Wilson and wanted to get rid of Breece Hall, like, just go at it that way. And what is he really asking for on top of Breece Hall? I mean, I don't know. The two seem pretty equal to me. And so I would have probably gone around it that way and just ask for what I got to throw on top if I really want Garrett Wilson based off of roster construction here. So I'm going to take a look at Brady Flash's roster here. I just am curious. So he has Ramondre. And now adds Garrett Wilson. He has, not a whole lot going for him. Yeah, at all. But now he's got the 111, 203, 204, 308, 304. So he added bullets into the chamber, and his draft pick situation isn't terrible going forward. I guess I don't love the route that he took to get this trade accomplished and get Garrett Wilson. I think he could have done more with the 104 than use it to acquire Garrett Wilson. Like, if I'm using the 104 and Breece Hall in a deal, I'm going for the elite. Like, I would have asked for I don't know where I would have gone to the Jefferson Chase owner and said, hey, how close am I with Breece Hall in the 104, right? What do I got to throw in on top of that? Okay. That's where I would have gone from the get-go, from Brady Flash's side. From Foss-Boss, I love it. You're getting 2 out of the top 3 assets in this deal. Arguably asset 1 and 2 or 3. I mean, where is Garrett Wilson right now. Are you getting the 104 for Garrett Wilson straight up? That seems to be about right. You know what I mean? Ted McMillan, in all honesty, I don't know that I would fire him up over Garrett Wilson right off the get-go. Like if they were in a startup, I don't know. It'd be hard for me to bet on Ted McMillan. Let's say he does land in the ultimate landing spot in New England, right? Are we just automatically assuming him right into that spot? You could. I can see it, but is he just being anointed as a top 10 wide receiver right away? You know, that's putting him right up against Marv. And I don't know that I'd do that. You know, he's not the type of prospect Marv was. And he's going to take some time to get to know Drake May. And that's just assuming that he goes 4th overall. So, yeah, I'm leaning Breece. I'm leaning the Breece Hall side of this deal. Again, bring it up here for you. There we go. Just go down the tiers. Even with the additional running backs coming in this year, like Breece Hall's still gonna hold his own. Yes, Genty, I would have ahead of him, but not by much, right? Like there were 2 leagues last year where I traded what could have been the 101. One of them, it did end up being the 101, knowing that I was giving up Genty and I received Breece Hall. So that's how I believe Breece Hall, how strong I am on Breece Hall and his future, because who knows that he stays in New York, right? Like he could end up going just about anywhere else and they find a way to use this guy. He's gotten tons of yards, but no touchdown upside right now for Breece Hall. And so, but that could come any season right now. It's like Saquon waiting to be released, right? But not quite on that level because Breece isn't quite the animal Saquon is. I don't see a 2,000-yard season in the future for Breece Hall, but I can see 2,000 all-purpose yards. That I can see. So that's where I'm at. Good job, Floss Boss. Brady Flash, not a terrible job, and I get the idea, so I don't hate it. It's definitely something that is easily correctable. Getting the wide receiver, it definitely helps your wide receiver room, and you've got Ramondre in the backfield. You can definitely draft some running backs that could fill in as well there, so you're not out of it at all because of this deal. All right. Let's move on to the next one here, and we've got Foss Boss dealing with our Trader of the Week. That's right. Just got done watching Traders Season 3, Episode 6 with the family over there on Peacock. It's a great episode. Check it out if you're not aware of the Traders. It is just a fantastic reality show. I'm sorry, I have to bring it into the focus here, but it's a great show. All right, so this deal was in our Mojo League, and let me go scoop this one up here for you guys. There, 1 second. There we go. All right. So this one, we had Foss Boss getting the 108 and Reaper's 26 first in exchange for the Purdy Deebo stack and the 211. All right. So I'm always every year perplexed when it gets to around pick 108 in the first round. Now, last year we had pretty much a clear tier break there at the 108. If you remember, we had Caleb and Marv at 1 and 2. Then we had Neighbors and JD at 3 and 4, however you wanted to rank them. Then you had Drake May, McCarthy, Roma Dunze, and Brock Bowers. Those 4 made up that next section, but they all combined to make one huge elite tier up top. And then you had the tier break, and then you got into your Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Lad McConkey. So that whole range from 109 to about, you could take it back all the way to 205 if you wanted to, depending on where you threw Jonathan Brooks in there. You threw Keon Coleman into the mix, right? So there was a couple of bad, not the picks that didn't look so good now, a year removed, but at the time, you could easily have argued to put, I mean, I saw in many drafts guys taking Keon Coleman and Jonathan Brooks ahead of Bo Nix. I didn't agree with it. Easy for me to say now, but if you listened to me last year, you know I was big on Bo Nix, and so that's where I stood. I was big on Penix as well. So that's where that tier break was the 108. This year now I just rattled off 6 names. It'll be interesting to see who creeps upwards into that 107, 108 range. You've got Luther Burden, who easily could go ahead of some of the quarterbacks there. He could go ahead of Caleb Johnson and Omarion Hampton, who are kind of grouped together right now as on the same tier together. I could see Luther Burden ranked right even with those guys in the same tier, kind of clustered there. And then you have Travis Hunter as well, the huge wild card that nobody knows where to rank right now. So that would be top 8. So he's looking at, if we were drafting today, at least one of those guys, which is a solid pick, I'll say. I feel pretty comfortable taking one of those guys. I'm not hugely ecstatic about the quarterbacks again, but this is where I'm at on those guys. The quarterbacks just, they're not as bad as the Breece Hall draft when we had Kenny Pickett in the first round, but they're also, I'll tell you right now, I'm taking Michael Penix over any of these quarterbacks. Okay. I'll say that it's arguable, right? But if you have, let's throw Cam Ward to the Titans at 101. What are you giving Cam Ward there? Okay. Is their offensive line improved? Does he have more than Calvin Ridley and a couple of decent scat backs to throw to? What is Cam Ward actually getting that Michael Penix doesn't already have? Plus the fact that we've seen him do it for a couple of games. Now, mind you, it's only a couple of games, but he still did it, and he looked he looked the part, right? So, it all depends where these quarterbacks end up sliding in tier-wise. But Michael Penix, he's at least got to be worth the 105 right now, right? You could argue up to the 104 or 103. So that said, where are we ranking Brock Purdy at quarterback right now? Okay, he's not a rushing quarterback. He's not in the elite tier of quarterbacks. He's somewhere down in the, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 range, right? Somewhere in there. He's like, you've got Stroud and Love. He's in that tier of non-running quarterbacks that are comfortable. You're very comfortable with them in a Superflex league. And that's what the Fantasy Reaper was looking at, trying to get. His other route was sitting with the 108 and then trying to pay up to move up to try and get a lottery ticket in Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. Okay. So personally, I love it from the Reaper side of things. Now, I don't know if Boss needs a quarterback, so I'm going to look at that shortly here. We'll look at Boss's lineup. But I like what I'm getting here from the Reaper. The Reaper should be contending this year. So you're looking at his 26 first as being mid to late. Of course, that could all fall apart at any time. But I guess I don't mind. I see Purdy as, above the 108, and Deebo and the 211 not quite getting me to the 26 first, but I can see it. It evens out value-wise, we'll put it that way, right? Now, from Fossboss's end of it, I don't mind getting the pick and the future first as well. I'm going to bring up Fossboss's roster here in a second for you guys. So here's Fossboss's roster. He's got Baker, Saquon, Henry, DJ Moore, Garrett Wilson, Olave, MAndrews. But then where are we at? Okay. Let's scroll down here. Then we're down to Wandale. He's got Etienne and Kyler. So I can see definitely why he was willing to get rid of Purdy. Okay. Got rid of Deebo. I guess, there's Thielen there. And obviously with the 108, he could end up landing. Obviously with the 108, he could end up landing Luther Burden or Travis Hunter there as a wide receiver that he could use. So I don't hate it. Is it the way I would go about getting rid of a top 15 quarterback? He's got Baker, he's got Kyler. Both guys were top 10-ish quarterbacks. Kyler was on the fringe there. Baker definitely was last year. Now, is Baker going to do that again this year? I would sure hope so, but with the absolute fiasco going on with Liam Cohen right now, I was just reading about it right up to the absolute start of the show. If you haven't been paying attention, Liam Cohen, so he went and interviewed in Jacksonville. He decided against it because he didn't like the GM. They got rid of the GM. Tampa offered him the second highest offensive coordinator contract, but in it stated that he couldn't go and interview elsewhere. Then Cohen is telling the Bucs that his kid is sick, so that's why he couldn't come into the office. And meanwhile, he's actually going back to Jacksonville and re-interviewing for the head coaching spot, which Jacksonville is now saying that they will give him free rein to choose his own GM. This is just becoming a fucking insane situation. And if I'm Tampa right now, I do not have a whole lot of faith in Liam Cohen. Like, if he doesn't take this Jags job now, I don't know that he's coming back to Tampa, because there's major trust issues there now with, my kid's sick and I'm at the doctor's. Right. So anyway, does that really hurt Baker? Well, it'll probably end up meaning that he'll see his third offensive coordinator in 3 years that he'll try and get a head coaching spot for in 2026, right? So anyway, Fossboss, not a bad job. I get where you're coming from here. Same to the Reaper. And we've got 2 more deals involving the Reaper, hence why he was the trader of the week in the Birdhouse. So let's move on from this one. I think we hit on that one well enough. So the next one is in my League of Champions league. Let's go down to it here. Hopefully I can make my way down to it. There we go. Okay, we're having troubles getting there. Okay, well, let's bring it back out. So anyway, the League of Champions deal, this League of Champions is an interesting one. So it's a 10-team start 11, so sort of shallow, it seems. But then when you take into consideration that it's a full 2 PPR league, not tight end premium, 1 point reception bonus for all receivers, as in running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends all get 2 points for a catch. So it elevates everybody else and suffocates the quarterback value, especially being only a 10-team league. So the quarterbacks are all a little overvalued in that league. We'll put it that way. So this league, there was no quarterback in this deal. The Reaper got the 110 and a third from another Brandon, Brejek, for the 206 and Etienne. So we got the 206 and Etienne to move up to the 110 and got a third on the back end. All right. So I'm not leaning either side in this one. Again, it's an extra bonus for receptions here in this league, but Etienne's a decent receiver. So he gets his, he gets bumped up with the other receiving running backs there. And I think Etienne's a decent buy right now in Dynasty. He'll be going into his final year of his rookie deal. Down year last year, but a decent bet to perform better than he did previous year in 2024. We all know he struggled. He had a couple injuries. Tank Bigsby came on a little bit. And so we don't know. And especially now, we have no idea who the head coach is going to be. It's looking like Liam Cohen is, though, going to end up going over there. And so that should probably bode well for Etienne. I mean, it couldn't really get any worse than it was last year. And for him and Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, Evan Ingram, the list goes on there in Jacksonville. There's talent everywhere, right? So it's a good situation to take on as a young head coach. Aside from the fact that he's going into a division, if this is Liam Cohen, he's going into a division where you've got DeMeco Ryans as the incumbent best coach in the division, because you've got Shane Steichen in Indy, and then Callahan in Tennessee. So, I mean, he's not going up. It's not like he's going to the Raiders, right? Or whoever takes on the Raiders job, which Pete Carroll apparently is the odds-on favorite right now. But he's going. If Pete Carroll's like a perfect fit with the other head coaches there, I just don't know that the talent level is going to allow him to get the results that he wants, because he's going to be going up against Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh, all who've been there obviously with their teams and have developed what kind of teams they've got. Aside from the fact that all three of those teams just made the playoffs this year, and the Raiders didn't do jack shit, and aside from losing to the Chiefs in a real close one. But you get where I'm going here. Pete Carroll's in a load of trouble if that's what he ends up doing, in my opinion. And meanwhile, Liam Cohen is taking on this job in Jacksonville where he's going to have free reign. And, is that the best thing to do, to give a dude who's taking on his first job? He's 2 years removed from being offensive coordinator at Kentucky. Now, granted, he built Will Levis up into becoming getting drafted decently. Will Levis isn't looking so hot right now. But the point here is that Travis Etienne, circle back to him, is a decent buy, in my opinion. Good buy low, right? I don't like to use buy low, sell high necessarily, because it all is relative to the actual price and the economy and the market of your league, right? You do it in a league here where it's 2 PPR. Well, the Etienne isn't in the same tier of wide receivers as in most leagues where you're not getting 2 points a catch. Okay, the receivers get a little bump there. So the middling receivers, someone like, I don't know, DK, right? DK is more valuable than Etienne in a league like this, whereas in a regular league, DK and Etienne would be much closer in value, right? So point is that he only moved down from the 110 to the 206. The 110, again, could be just on the outside, but probably on the inside, because I think that what'll happen is those 2 quarterbacks for sure will go in the top 6 of our rookie drafts, right? And then you've got the 3 running backs, Tet, and then you're looking at Tyler Warren in there, top tight end right now, who I love. And this is a very good tight end class. And this goes back to what kind of classes are you looking at? I personally like to draft from the strength of a class, right? Not from the weakness, especially when you move further down from the top 5 or 6 picks. When you're in the top 5 or 6, like, just because it's a bad wide receiver class is no knock on Tet McMillan or Luther Burden or Travis Hunter. Those 3 are going to be solid picks, I think. Travis Hunter's a whole different story because he's just such a we have no idea how much he's going to play, but he's at the 110, he's probably a good dart throw for whoever's picking at the 110, at least if it's their original pick. That means that they probably finished in 3rd in the league. And so you got a good team. It's a good talent dart throw, right? But and it's still, the 110 is going to be a better player than the 206. Is it worth Travis Etienne if you're stacked enough at running back, which the Reaper is in this league, and he was looking to liquidate some of the running backs on his roster? Of the running backs on his roster, let me try and bring that league back up again here. There we go. Now it's letting me go down. Sleeper's so goofy on the laptop. I swear it's ridiculous sometimes. Okay, here we go. Let me share this screen for you. There we are. So here's the Reaper's team, who he got rid of Etienne, mind you. He has Gibbs, Etienne, Bucky, Rashad White. Scroll down. Marv, Xavier Worthy, Roma Dunze, Pittman. So as you can see, he's well loaded at the receiver position, which is a necessity in this league, this format. So again, that's something to be mindful of in the leagues you're playing in. Know the format. All right. And I'm not knocking Breece in this one because I think it's a good deal for him. That's fine. But know your league's format. Know if it's a tight end premium, do the rest of the league mates favor that tight end premium? Like if it's a half-point tight end premium, I think a lot of us know that playing that league, you really don't see a huge advantage from the tight ends. Maybe there's a few of them that you can flex a little bit more often. You know, your guys like Hunter Henry and Dallas Goedert and the middling tight ends, they can sneak into your flex lineups more so in a 0.75 or full point premium. In a half point premium, yeah, you can sneak them in once in a while, right? In a non-tight end premium, you don't even consider those tight ends usually. So that's where the tight ends come in this, because Tyler Warren's definitely somebody you could target there at the 110, I think. Tyler Warren's probably going to end up going somewhere between the 106 to 112 at least, right? His projected pick right now, a lot of people have him going to Indianapolis as of right now at pick 14 in the first. But that's just, I mean, we're 3 months out from the draft, more than 3 months. We're 4 months out from the draft. So we still have the combine, we still have free agency, still a lot of things that can happen. But as of right now, that's where they're ranking Tyler Warren, and I'm not opposed to that ranking right now. But the point is that when you're looking at the tight ends, there's this elite tier where you've got basically Bowers in this elite stratosphere, then McBride and Laporta, right? And then you've got these middling elite tight ends. They're aging, but yet elite, right? You've got Kelsey, MarkAndrews, those couple, and then you go down to your Njokus and all the way down to Goddard, right? You have the kind of underperforming ones from last year, Ferguson. Trying to think who else. Ingram got banged up, so who knows what he's going to do. If he stays in Jacksonville or not. They say he might be a cut candidate because Brenton Strange looked so good. I don't know that they're willing to do that and just go all in on Brenton Strange, but it's definitely a possibility. Now, when you're playing in a tight end market like that, it's either feast or famine for me, right? I don't love being stuck in that middling ground of Dallas Goedert and trying to pick, do I start Dallas Goedert, Cade Otton, Jonnu Smith, right? Like there were so many good tight ends you could get later for almost nothing in value this past year to just prove this feast or famine situation we've got going on at the tight end position right now. Because like Jonnu Smith, as I mentioned, Taysom Hill is down there, right? Hunter Henry had a great season, all things considered. So that's the market that we're in with the tight end position. So I would just caution you on overpaying for those middling tight ends just to feel like you can go to sleep nice and warm at night, because Dallas Goedert does not give me that warm fuzzy feeling. Okay, Dalton Schultz does not give me that warm fuzzy feeling. Even David Njoku now I've got a lot of questions about with his health and who the hell is his quarterback this year coming up. So I mean, he's a great talent, don't get me wrong. He could finish as a top 5 tight end, but he seems to just kind of disappear sometimes. So it'll be interesting to see once startup season gets going, like where does Njoku land? Where does he fall into the mix here? Do people still take Kelsey and MarkAndrews ahead of him, or does Njoku jump over them? I think a lot could be said once we find out who their quarterback's going to be, because we know it's not going to be Deshaun Watson, right? So Njoku's one of those wild cards at tight end for sure. But I like what both guys did here. They both fit their needs and went out and got it done. So let's get to the last deal of the night. That would be involving the Reaper and Breece once again in our Cannonball League. And now it's not letting me scroll down to it again. Okay, well, we're going to just bypass that. So the last deal between the same guys in my Cannonball League, it was just a 12x10 Superflex tight end premium. We had the Reaper getting MarkAndrews and a 26-second, giving up his 26 first to Breece. So Breece acquired a wild card 26 first, which is right now projected mid for what would be a mid to early. Breece had a rough year last year, so mid to early 26th second and Mark Andrews. So essentially, let's say the pick ends up, the first rounder ends up the 108 and the second ends up as the 203. Are you willing to move up, or are you willing to move back 7 picks for Mark Andrews? That's the conundrum there. Now, again, this gets into the tight end landscape and philosophy you want to use. I see Mark Andrews, in spite of his performance on Sunday with the fumble and the drop 2-point conversion, I don't think that Lamar Jackson's all of a sudden not going to throw to the guy. Okay. So I still think that Mark Andrews bounces back and has a top 5 type season, right? I've completely forgotten about George Kittle in this talk about tight ends, because he is definitely in that mix with, Kelsey, Andrews, and Kittle. You can definitely put all 3 of them right in the same ballpark there. But with Kelsey, of course, you have the potential threat of retirement there. If the Chiefs were to win their 3rd Super Bowl, God forbid, we could be upon, a Kelsey retirement here, where he goes off into the promised land with Taylor Swift and whatever. But regardless, with doing this, it's possible the Reapers giving up a pretty premium pick here in the 26th draft. But at this point, this is probably the best point you can get Mark Andrews for. So if you're looking and seeing Mark Andrews out there in your leagues, this is a decent time to buy him. I'll say that for sure, because give it a couple of months and people are going to, outside of Baltimore, are going to completely forget about what happened on Sunday, or it's not going to at least be right embedded in their heads immediately. Because you ask a lot of people right now and they wouldn't want to get Mark Andrews. Okay. But there's rumors that they could cut him because Isaiah Likely can do everything. Well, you know what? What kind of offense does Baltimore run, right? How many 2 tight end sets do they run? It seems like they're running it like 50% of the time. Okay. They are going to keep Andrews. No need to worry about that. That is just nonsense talk. So go out there, check your leagues. If the Mark Andrews owner has another decent tight end, he might be willing to, part ways with Andrews. So it's not a bad option to go after right now, because there's not a whole lot out there at the tight end position. Like I said, other than the big 3 young guys in Bowers, Laporta, and McBride, and then Kelsey, Andrews, and Kittle. After that, to me, tight ends 7 through 20 are, all pretty much interchangeable. There were times this year where Kate Otten was doing well. Definitely Jonnu Smith. You got Taysom Hill. All those guys can put up good points for stretches. Taysom Hill is like the ultimate wild card, the ultimate cheap wild card, because he'll go a few weeks without doing anything, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, it's 3-4 weeks in a row where he gets a rushing touchdown, a few catches. He's just insane. But so that's the way I like to look at the tight end landscape in my rosters. I don't want to overpay for the position unless it's absolutely, I've got just value up the wazoo and I got picks to burn. Then I could look at moving up. But, for the price right now of a Brock Bowers, that's just, if I don't have Bowers, I'm just not going to have him, because I'm not paying 3 firsts for a tight end. So, and that's the basic asking price for him. But that's all the trades I've got this week. Hit me up with any of your trades out there. Any questions you've got, throw me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. And check out my rankings at patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. Join us in the Birdhouse community. Talk on the Patreon. We can chat it up here in the comments. Please leave your questions or your agreements or disagreements with my thoughts on these trades. By all means, let me have it. If I am wrong, you let me know, and I'll let you know why I am right. But otherwise, we're early in the off season. Lots to talk about. We got the conference championships coming up this weekend. Then it's the Senior Bowl, Super Bowl, and then we get the combine. All right. So thanks for joining tonight. Remember, never stop working.